Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yet up in the jungle, coking the bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tore the underworld, popping the minter. Landed the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Moorish the fashion. Horse we was smashing, kicking the door. Waving for force, it was blasting. Mother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the Benjis, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red as the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning, flooded a bright lane. The hunger was biting, biting. Up in the Dumbo, smoking the gumbo. Few blocks before green, yet up in the jungle, coking the bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tore it up.
Valuable. So the market needs a correction. Needs to shake up a little bit so they could begin to reanalyze, reevaluate, reassess, audit a lot of these people who are giving values in our community, so the people could see, oh, okay, those people are valued more because they mean more, you know. So once we get that, we'll be able to go in a more straighter, you know, because we'll be able to assess our skills and our skill sets and what we possess. And if we don't have what we need, there are gig services all around the planet. One of the most beneficial, I would say, in the past 20 years, you know, the gig economy, it is very evolutionary. It makes a lot of sense. You know, you pay somebody for a service that you need, and then you're good. Fair exchange, no robbery. So go to Fiverr and give people in Bangladesh and people in Angola, right? Or you could even give it to somebody doing time in Angola, because there was a story of a few people that was getting a lot of bread off of Fiverr, and they was doing Fivers. You know what I mean? They had 5 to 20. You feel me? So the gig economy is beneficial for anybody who has the skill set. You know, I would love to create a version of Fiverr amongst the 5s. You know what I mean? And the 6s. You know, so we can extract revenue and help them find and find some gigs and whatnot, so they can basically be in a safe environment, you know, living their best life, making bread by taking care of gigs, doing tasks and whatnot, coding, designing, you know, the same dream that Nipsey had for them, you know. So it's to my understanding that our culture has pockets of individuals and groups who have a lot of expendable income. And if that expendable income was now turned into investment income or investment vehicles, they would see a difference in their returns. I would say in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, there would be a seismic shift. But this is the day and time to start it. You know what I mean? This is definitely the jump point, the great reset, the opportune time This is the trampoline in which to do backflips off of. This is the time to do the quantum leap. You know, this is it. 40 years after, right? We in 23. You had 83 with the Philadelphia experiment, right? Jumping through the time space portal. Now it's another time that we're in what they call quantum mania. So the AI is just speeding it up. But we are in a quantum, we are definitely, we went from a binary to a quantum. That's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. And we need more people to explain that to our people. So people perish from a lack of knowledge. We just lack that space being crowded. We need to crowd that space like we crowding all of the other spaces in the podcast world and in the content creating world and whatnot. And that's why Know the Ledger is going to fill that void. That's a space that we're going to fit very comfortably in because we've been in that space for more than a decade and we love this space, you know, have a love for this space. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, family. That was a commercial for 40. That was a clip or excerpt from 40 AIs and a Mule. Check that out, 40AIsandamule.com, one of the sponsors for tonight's broadcast. And welcome everyone to another episode of Third Eye Thursdays. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is episode 168, featuring your brother Red Pillar, soon to be joined by my co-host Blue Pillar 44. All right. The title of this episode is The Fall of Old Media Part Deuce. Okay. Because we started it on Melanin Mondays. So shout out to everybody who was in the building live this Monday, and you're here tonight. Buckle yourselves in, strap yourselves in, make yourselves comfortable. This one is going to be another one of those shows right here. You already know what it is. There goes your boy right there. We'll be smoking on some Jerry Springer tonight, along with some Carol packs and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? So let's do the roll call. Let's see who is in the building. State your name. Let's put that shit on the blockchain. You know what I'm talking about? Let me know where you tapping in from. Let's charge up the grid tonight. Let's connect the motherfucking dots and get this web connected and whatnot and get this grid charged up. Let's go. Okay. So we got Maryland in the house. Shout out to Mary Land. Mary's Land is in the building. We have AC in the building, and I'm assuming that stands for Atlantic City. All right. Shout out to AC in the building. You dig? Shout out to Jersey City. You feel me? Oh, okay, Cafunia. I just saw an article today about Jersey City being the second most expensive city in the world next to New York City, and it knocked San Francisco out of the motherfucking place. I find that hard to believe. That blew it went over my roster cap and whatnot. I can't even picture Jersey City being the most expensive place. That is a place surrounded by nuclear plants and a lot of toxicity. But shout out to Jersey City, Tremont section of the Bronx. Shout out to the BX, Maryland. Shout out to Mary's Land, Georgia. Shout out to Georgia, Texas in the building, Florida in the building, East Flatbush by way of Georgia, Louisiana. I see you, Tallahassee, never sassy. You know what I'm talking about? South Central Los Angeles up in this thing, Henderson, Nevada. I see you. I see you, Oregon in here. Inland Empire, salute to you, 305. You know what I'm talking about? West Adams to Baldwin Village. Brett. I see you, Tallahassee, never sassy. Tucson, Arizona. You know what I'm talking about? Santa Rosa. All right, Chino Hills. You know what I mean? Oh, Gloucester, the UK. In it. London. Yeah, so we lit tonight. You know what I mean? Charlotte is in the building. We are definitely lit up in this thing. Shout out to everybody pulling up in the building. Salute to each and every one of you. Greetings. Welcome. salutations, and all other forms of greetings and whatnot. Make yourself comfortable. Let me go ahead and do what I need to go and open up the side door and bring over our guest for the evening. So, without any further ado, family, I bring to you my brother, your brother, none other than Blue Pillar 44 in the
Yeah.
motherfucking building. Bleh.
What's good, family?
What it do?
Peace, peace, peace to the family. Peace, love, and light. Brother Blueport, live and direct.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah, yeah. Honest
How's
for
your day
having me.
been so far? Huh?
It's been an interesting. I can't put today in like its own category. You know what I'm saying? I think that you titled the episode appropriately, so I would have to put today in perspective with the rest of the week, right? We have seen things that are speaking to cosmic shifts in media, you know, cosmic shifts in paradigms, the ending of eras, ending and new beginnings. So this
Yes.
week, if you will, again, it's been an observation, a studious observation in the continuous movement and the changing of cycles. Um, Today would be no different. Today would just culminate into like so many different parts and pieces. Like when a bus goes to the depot and it links up mad buses to go to different routes.
Right.
The bus pulled into the depot today.
The bus pulled into the depot today, huh?
Right.
The Greyhound pulled into Orlando today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know that layover,
Yeah, that long ass
that long
layover
ass
where you could
layover
go
in
and get your
Orlando. You
wings
like,
and shit.
man, dirty ass. Yeah.
Right, right, right. The layover that pulls up to the Grand Theft Auto prostitute. Be like, I be waiting for that layover where they be getting that good dog food and them shorties with that $5 top. You know what I mean? That's the layover that I look out for. I can't wait for that. I've been doing leg day waiting for that one right there. But
Yeah.
um shit, let's dive right into it, man. Because what I did last week is rather on Monday, I began a narrative about the fall of old media. I
Yeah.
made sure to highlight, what was taking place that day with the firing of Don Lemon Head and Tucker Carlson. You know what I mean? I like to call him Sucker Carlson, but he
Yeah.
was trying to, he trying to get some points and whatnot. You know what I mean?
So some
But you know what I
respect.
mean? How I would do Tucker Carlson, I would just bring him to the URL smack contest. What's the
Yeah.
shit where they doing the new smack shit where they be like, you took the dog of it. I would just do
Yeah.
open hand smack for Tucker Carlson. I wouldn't even put him in the URL in the ring,
UFC.
UFC ring.
Right.
I wouldn't break him up. But what I did was I was tapping into the narrative that you so expertly have laid out over the last few months about the inevitable. You kind of like time marked it, you time stamped it. So when any one of us see it, we hit you on the bat phone and say, Blue, is happening.
Right.
So what I want to do on this
Which one
show,
of my pillar philosophies? I got a lot of them joints. I got a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of joints
yeah.
is hitting and connecting. So which one we talking about here?
This one that we talking about, this pillar prophecy that we're embarking upon, is the one where you predicted the fall of the medical industry and
Oh
the
yeah.
media the M&M to
Right.
fall alongside each other. You know what I mean? The two pillars that you predicted were gonna fall. The two guides, like how the Georgia Guidestone collapsed.
Yeah.
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 So you hydrated. You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, go in, bro.
In it. Yeah. So we have seen some paramount paradigm shifts as of lately, especially in the field of media.
Yes.
And this could speak to several things. This can be the death of old media, and old media is mitigated as network media, cable news media, right? And what does
Right.
that become replaced with? That becomes replaced with social media. That becomes replaced with
New
what it is
media.
that we're doing right here, on YouTube in terms of content creators. The majority of the populace get their information from social media, and social media is the last vestige that's even interested with real news, if you will.
Right.
Right? Cable news and the rest of them is all ad driven, and they expertly laid it out to you, and they showed you in this particular situation, the situation with Carlson is about liability, right? And the fact that their insurances for Fox are telling them, based on the lawsuits, not only the one that they just settled, but also the one that's coming down the pipeline about the sexual improprieties slash harassment
Right.
that Tucker Carlson has been accused of
And his
at
work environment.
in the work
With
environment.
him
And
personally or his coworkers?
no, it's him specifically.
Oh, he was getting busy.
Yeah, not getting busy, just insinuations, things that he was saying,
Well, okay.
right?
I think there was something on Don Lemon too. He was out there
Don
chasing
Lemon as
balls.
well. So it's intra company beef, right? Gossip and things of that nature, things that he was speaking about behind people's back and letting it be known, his disgust, and I don't f with this person, I don't rock with that person, right? But then the lady was like, they also said some sexual inappropriate thing. They said some things that would be considered anti-Semitic as well. So he had a litany of things with paper trails leading up. So it's not
Right.
just what he said, just like how they was able to slam them in Dominion. They're not explaining, yeah, we got to lay the body at your doorstep because of the emails and the texts, right? They can't put him personally on the line for the negligence, right? Of saying, and if people don't understand what the Dominion lawsuit was about, right?
Yeah, go a little deep in that because
They
people
were
they don't give context
propagating,
to it.
yeah, they were propagating the myth that the election was stolen, and the only way for that to happen is if they were able to rig the election machines, and the only way for that to happen is if the machines were in on it. So vicariously, by putting that claim on them, you're saying that the company was complicit with the claim.
Mess
And
their business up.
right, in any quote unquote standard judicial system, that's called defamation, right?
Right.
So they were able to be like, what? Same shit that I'd be like, nigga, where's the receipts? Yeah, I hear you talking,
Right.
and it sounds fly as fuck,
Fly as fuck.
right? Where's the receipts at? That's what we into, right? Where's the receipts?
When did
Produce
that
the receipts.
change?
Yeah, right. Show me verifiable proof. So they called their bluff on that. They like, yo, how you gonna say that we was behind that? You just can't be on the news or TV saying whatever you want. And like you so expertly observed, right? There was a lull 4 years, right, in the making where rock people to sleep, whereas people thought that you could say anything that you wanted because Trump was saying anything that he wanted. And there
Right.
was a whole alternative dimension that we lived in called alternative facts. People
All
don't talk
facts.
about that no more, right?
They
They
don't.
don't talk about the paradigm of what is it, Kellyanne Conway and all that,
Right.
right? With the alt facts, where they
They
would just
opened
make
up a
stuff
whole
up on the
they
fly,
opened up a whole
right?
new
And they
multiverse.
would lie to you with a straight face, and then Trump would dismiss you. And then how did they perfect that model? Through the scarcity model. If you don't go along with the program, I'm going to deny you access. And in order for you as a news reporter to go back to your company with a feed that will allow you to continue to have your job, you need to play ball, right? In order to get what you came here for. And when they figured out how to manipulate the press corps and have them play their game, then it gave rise to something alternatively new called alt facts, where
Right.
now the person with the most powerful podium on the planet, which is the United States president. Why is he the most powerful person on the planet with a pulpit? Because the shit that he says moves markets. And he has the ability to say shit now that's unhinged, where prior he wouldn't, because the office of the presidency is tethered to the corporation of the country. So it is all driving business, right? It's all driving business. But now you got this wild card in here who's not reading from the script. So everybody is pinned. That's why I told you in 2015,
Right.
I was like, yo, you're going to have a president run the White House from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if people understood what I was explaining at the time. I was like, yo, don't expect no press conferences. Don't expect, you know what I'm saying, no press junkets. I'm like,
Right.
everything that's going to come from this dude going to come from
Tweet.
Twitter. And that's how he played it all the way to the end, where they had to take him off of Twitter to shut that down. And when they took his bullhorn from him, he lost considerable amount of power. When he got deplatformed is when he lost his presidency. Let's be clear.
Right.
So
they didn't. He was Teflon.
And
up until they didn't know.
And truth be told, and it's not being reported like this, Tucker had to go because Tucker could not keep the integrity, right, as a talking head, right, or a primetime news spokesman for Trump 24, right? Because the emails that came out after the disposition, after Dominion settled for 700 million with Fox, which was the largest settlement ever, right? And like I said, there's 2 more lawsuits coming down the pipeline with Fox dealing with Carlson. So he became a liability to his company in more ways than one. So what does that, the resounding message that went out is, once again, don't think that your job, whoever you are, is too comfortable, right? Even if you are a top earner, you could be the top G.
Right. You niggas saw Goodfellas. You saw it happen to one of the top earners.
Right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you fall out of favor with the boss, with the big dog,
with Boss Hog,
he was
nigga,
falling out of favor with the big dog.
Yeah,
and the big dog
it's
is
bigger
not
dogs out there.
Murdoch, the big dog potentially now still is Trump until it's DeSantis. So they're like, yo, we can't even really go forward with covering the campaign and getting Trump, because boom, you seen Trump was on an interview that Sunday night, and then Monday come and dude is out of there. So the emails revealed how he really felt and what he said. And what I'm more upset with the world, with the media, with social media in particular, with our people specifically, is that the cat that got out the bag that we already know is that these media outlets, right, are telling us all facts. And they got caught with their hand in the jar because Tucker was like, yo, I don't believe in none of that. He's like, all of that is cat.
Right.
He was like, middle finger Donald Trump. Right. So he, you know, he was really,
but nobody really expounded on that.
Nobody expounded on that they caught them red-handed telling lies to the American public. And they trumped up a situation that caused a riot and has all sorts of international consequential fallouts. They want to blame the body of the US on Biden. But I'm like, nah, niggas seen democracy die. You know what I'm saying? Under Trump.
It's not a Biden thing.
They brought the body.
The death blow to democracy came in the Trump years. You know what I mean? People are so forgetful. Like that shit died.
January
that
6th.
Shit died every tweet. He was killing it. It was a death by 1,000 cuts.
Shout out to Praz. He was killing it softly, right?
Killing it softly, like Praz well, little nigga. You know what I'm saying? Praz on the yard. Yo, where my Mid-Journey niggas at? We gonna put Praz and Trump on the yard, little niggas, with Tory Lanez shooting hoops.
Right. I don't want to find humor in that necessarily.
Nah, I'm just saying the yard is lit. We not finding humor in nothing. R. Kelly got the fucking R. Kelly got. I
Yeah,
heard R. Kelly got
an
them.
all-star.
He got them
It's
young
an
niggas
all-star yard.
wilding. Yeah, a young. He got them young boy. He got them young niggas wilding. R. Kelly do on the yard. The yard is lit. The yard fathers right now. It's crazy
Yo.
on the yard. Yeah. Then you got the slime coming to the yard, nigga.
Yeah, the yard
The
lit.
yard is lit.
Yard is lit, right?
The fuck.
So you have all of these mitigating circumstances that lead to a breakdown in trust, right? And you
Right.
find out that that's not your guy, right? He's not going to be the bagman for the corporation, right? He went sour, you know what I mean? So it's like, yo, you got to cut your losses. So we're seeing companies cutting their losses and also forecasting their liabilities to be like, yo, what is this going to cost me in 6 months or a year? Should I cut my losses now? We're seeing by best estimates, according to I was listening to Market Mondays on EYL, and they were saying the projection would be 300 million jobs have to get cut in order for them to, balance the budget, if you will, right?
Right.
Bring things back into a semblance of balance. They got to shave 300 million jobs.
Right.
I'm like, niggas, 300 million people. It's 330 million people in the country.
That's what I'm saying. What the fuck? Look.
No, I mean,
Right.
this shit ugly, but and okay, so in the same day, on the other spectrum, because now we're looking at what they say left and right, both wings of the plane, red and blue. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Liberal and conservative. Then they clip the other side of the wing, which will be the next extreme, which is Don Lemon.
And
Who also was on the road.
They clipped two wings,
right?
Of a bird. Hold on, too, real quick, because I don't want to forget this. When they did the assessment about terminating one of their own, did they assess the threat level, right? That could potentially be created by making him a rogue. He's a rogue agent right now. He's not necessarily a free agent.
He's a rogue. Yeah, he's a rogue. He's a rogue agent.
He's rogue. So he, with his, this is the fall of old media, right? Now we could see traditional clash more so through Tucker than Don Lemonhead, more so through Tucker Carlson and his young quote unquote production teams and whatnot, or his younger demographics who would represent new media. He could become a force to be reckoned with through new media and basically become a real thorn in the side of the GOP and then come back and kill Fox, right? As a result of them cutting him and him being, because he did a video where he was talking to Tucker Carlson Lee, and that shit went viral, and people was excited to see what the next step is going to be. And from wherever he's able to take his shots is going to be more damaging because he's going to be able to hallucinate because they're not going to have guardrails on him like they have guardrails on you, like they have guardrails on Chat GPT. When you work at Fox, your tongue is tied.
Yeah, he becomes Agent GP. He's Chaos GPT right now.
Chaos GPT's Agent Smith.
Yeah, he don't have no guardrails. They let him out the bag. He's been exposed to too many secrets. Right. He has too strong of a pull. Once again, their assessment is, and it could have been problematic because they're making an assessment in a post AI world, and they're using metrics for a pre AI world. So their assessment for him was gauging how did Bill O'Reilly do, how did the Kelly lady do, how did Ingram do, right? So their assessment is that all of their previous stars needed Fox in order for them to be star quality. How did Glenn Beck do? They talking greasy in their assessment.
Right.
They're running that through the AI model. The AI model got old information. Right. AI model is not telling them, yeah, Rumble is a viable candidate and platform. AI model's not telling them, like, yo, this dude can go to social media. You know what I'm saying? Yo, this dude can sink your boat on Twitter alone.
He could go to Web3.
he can go to web, he could figure some things out. So once again, you know, it's a monkey wrench, but it makes things ever more so interesting to say you're seeing big corporations have to make uh you know, real-time decisions based on their bottom line. This is big corporate, you know what I'm saying? This is like big bank, you know what I'm saying? We talking news, family. We talking news, y'all. Which is by
Media,
far, yeah, we talking
north,
media.
east, west, south.
North, east, west, south. The shit makes the world go around. You know
Right,
what I mean? Even in a uh under a Democratic administration, nobody was checking for CNN. Fox is still with Fox is. Trump is still the draw, right?
right.
So Tucker Carlson is still, you know what I mean? He's still the big dog on the block until further notice. Who else niggas gonna go and get their verifiable source of news from? Hannity?
Ha!
Right? So we in terms of demographic, in terms of like who's the trusted source? Like who do you go to and listen to? Don Lemon Ben lost his credibility. Nobody was checking for him.
They wasn't fucking with Don.
People actually fucked with Tucker Carlson. And
Right,
he
he's
touched on
different.
topics that was borderline, you know what I'm saying? Topics that nobody else would touch on. He toted the line for consciousness on a few of them topics,
He
quote
did.
unquote, a few of them topics. He blurred the line where I would be like, damn, you got to understand. And I've asked this question time and time again. As a member of the conscious community, where does your politics lie? Are you more conservative or are you more liberal? Right? Do your talking points resonate more so with the red, or do it more so resonate with the blue? Nigga,
Right,
are you woke or are you woke?
right,
Right? Are you conscious or are you woke to
right.
a degree?
To a
So
degree, right.
yeah, he kind of had conscious talking points, not even woke ones. You feel me?
No, he did. He
So
did.
yeah, he has a tendency, just like Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck goes there. Glenn Beck got kicked off of Fox when he started talking about mounds.
Right,
And he started talking about, you know, indigenous rights and possibly, you know, borderline sovereignty and things of that nature.
right.
That's when they canned his show. So,
So that's
you know,
usually through the producers,
it's
not
definitely, yeah, because I think they kicked him and his producer off. It wasn't just him,
nah,
right?
they're not
It
gonna
was
just get
whoever
rid
was
of him,
cooking.
they're gonna get rid of the producers.
Yeah, it was whoever was cooking. Huh? You said what?
No, they're gonna get rid of your production team.
Normally they don't though. They'll recycle you. You just a talking head. But if you a whole, he's a whole ideology. He's a whole, you know, he represents a concept in terms of the way that he comes across. Remember, he was a journeyman first through media outlets. They had him like he would be conservative, you know
Right,
what I'm saying? In certain platforms, you know, when they had him on CNN, when they had him on Crossfire, you know, he was the antagonist. It was a debate show, red against blue. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
And then he gets over to Fox and he totes a different line because remember they got a lot of subgenres even in the red that you got to appeal to.
right,
Conservative, evangelical, you know what I'm saying? And there's aspects of it, there's middle ground, there's aspects of it, there's far right extreme,
right.
centrist, far
It's,
right.
yeah, it's multiple niches.
There's multiple niches. So, you know, he knew how to appeal, you know what I'm saying, to a particular block that
Mhm.
made his information sticky enough where people came back.
Yeah, now that you bring up Wolf Blitzer, if I was running the ball at Fox, nigga, I would always look to see to get my head cut off because it seems that that's all they do. They always, none of them go out ceremoniously unless you rush Limbaugh. He went out, he went out disgraced.
Rush Limbaugh,
He died,
he
but he was
died.
already disgraced from lawsuits for sexual misconduct. All of them got got jackets on them, got dirty jackets. And
Yeah.
like Leonard said, they are definitely most of them are
Yeah.
CIA.
CIA assets.
They are assets, you know what I mean? But they all get clipped. You feel me?
Right.
And in a sense, when you think about it, that is a way that they do CIA people anyway. Let's clip
So
you
right. So
into obscurity.
let's tie it together and bring it, full circle. Fox as a news corporation, right, is one thing. We were introduced to Fox as a network via Married with Children and The Simpsons, right?
Right. Love and marriage,
Married with Children
married with
and The
children.
Simpsons. So both of those shows would be the precursors and lay the foundation in the soil from which Jerry Springer springs from,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because Married with Children was a direct response to the Cosby
To the
Show.
Cosby Show.
I don't
Right.
know, if the audience doesn't know the history or the story, right? It was the antithesis to the Cosby Show.
Right.
Fox Media started out with Cops, Married with Children,
Tracy Ullman,
Tracy Ullman,
the
right?
Tracy Ullman show, which was
Tracy
like
Ullman Show.
it was like Benny Hill slash, sketch comedy. It was like a horrible rendition of what Keenan and them was doing with In Living Color.
Right.
But Fox is in
And
Living
Mad
Color.
TV, I believe,
Fox
was
is
Mad,
in Living Color.
huh?
Fox is in Living Color.
Are you sure?
Facts. Remember, in Living Color, Fox that was the shit that was pushing Fox in the beginning.
Hmm.
They had the edgy, sketchy Keenan Ivory Wayans, and they were bringing hip hop through In Living Color, and they was funny as hell. Was Martin on Fox or was he on another station?
I don't think
It was
he was.
definitely
Huh?
in Living Color, and then
Huh? UPN.
UPN. All right, Martin and them is UPN.
Yeah.
Mad TV, and Mad
Yeah.
TV comes a little while after In Living
Okay.
Color, right?
All right.
Somebody said that Martin was Fox. Yeah, The Simpsons too,
Yeah, I said The Simpsons. Yeah. But yeah, so all of that,
and the
right?
Jamie Foxx show.
All of that Ratchet TV, right, leads to all of those are the precursors, right, to what we will later get with Jerry Springer. Okay. And Jerry Springer comes along and just opens up, a festering wound that existed in America, but was covered, like how a nigga got tracks on his arm, but it's covered by a shirt.
Right.
You feel me?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. All right. They repping. Damn. Y'all niggas was in it,
Yeah,
huh?
because they know what's going on.
All right.
They know what the F is happening in.
Baby. It was on. Yep. My baby was
So
younger.
the
Hold on.
brand Fox
She got introduced to Martin on the reruns. Let me
on the reruns, right? That's rerun. That's rerun for what's happening. Then that's rerun. Not that retro. Not that white stuff. Look. Before we Living Single was on Fox. The
Living
brand
Single
was
was
strong with us. Our demographics had a brand trust with Fox because of the entertainment that they were
Yeah.
providing us.
Then it just
Even
started
though it
hurting.
was edgy, it was almost like cable TV on regular TV. It was
On
the
regular
closest
TV.
that you could get to cable TV without having cable, because Def Comedy Jam raised the bar on what you could do with cursing and telling Millie Jackson type of jokes and whatnot, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, raw level jokes outside of pub. Remember, y'all, this is not the internet age. This is not 1 million fucking cable channels. This is 10 cable channels, 5 TV channels. This is the time that I'm speaking of.
Facts. Yeah.
There's no options where you could just get mad shit everywhere. It was a condensed roster of programming that they fed everyone.
So All right, let me ask you: was Richard Bay on Fox or was the Downey Jr. shit on Fox?
Robert Downey Jr.
Was
show.
was that on Fox?
Robert Down. Is it Robert Downey Jr.? It was Richard Morton. Which one was the Morton?
I know Richard Bay.
What channel was Richard Bay show on? Because we even have to do the correct timeline of the daytime talk shows because there was some shows that led up to Jerry Springer. And on the Jerry Springer documentary, they'll talk about how Jerry Springer was going in one direction and then he took a complete left and he went that other route.
Yeah.
Because that shit that he was trying to do wasn't working. He was trying to follow Sally Jesse Raphael. You remember you had a crush on her?
Yeah, Morton Downey wasn't on Fox, they said, and they said that Richard Bay was on Channel 9.
Channel 9. Okay, no problem.
You said I had a crush on Sally.
Or was it Jenny Jones, nigga?
Yes, you got my girl ask a question. Nah, this nigga bugging. This nigga had a crush on Ricky Lake. I know. Well, you ain't want to put on the pretzel.
Nigga.
Yeah, Jenny Jones, man.
Jenny Jones. You know what I'm saying? Looking like librarian action. But listen, Donahue. Okay, that's what it was. Thank y'all. Donahue is the big homie, right? Donahue is the standard. Donahue is the fucking level that you want to reach. Donahue is Himothy of daytime talk show prior to Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
He merges perfectly the seriousness of journalism, right? And the quote unquote mundane entertainment of shock television in his time. Remember, we have to put it into context before before the egg was cracked or whatever, or before the mold was broke. TV and the limits that people were pushing it and whatnot did not exceed where it is now, right? It got there.
Okay, somebody hit it. Geraldo.
We're gonna get to Geraldo.
That was Fox, right?
That's it. That exactly.
Remember?
He went into the fucking tomb, my nigga. That was on Fox.
That was on Fox. They used to have them nighttime specials where the nigga was crawling into the tomb and all of that shit.
Right.
So he's like, oh, Fox carries Geraldo. That he introduced the borderline sensationalism when he was on Fox.
Right. Right.
That's Richard
exactly
Bay
what
Jones,
it was.
Granted, they was
Morton Downey Sr. That was the beginning of ratchet television.
But Morton Downey Sr. was the challenge initially to Donahue. They was like, we're gonna give you a little bit more of a ratchet version. Richard Bay became a challenge to that.
Right.
And
then Geraldo came.
Remember, all of them was and their big homie that they were all pushing against was Oprah.
Right.
No, we didn't say Donahue was on CBS. I mean, on Fox. We're just giving the landscape as to what
the landscape
TV looked like at that time. What was the environment when a Jerry Springer comes about? And then Jerry Springer comes about, and even I think when I heard about him being effective, they was like, yo, there's this nigga who's in more markets in some places than Oprah. I was like, what? The nigga with the funny show on, the shit that don't make no sense. They like, yeah, that shit is golden in certain districts and regions. People can't get enough of it. I didn't like it because I was still looking at Donahue and all of that at that time. You feel me?
Right.
I'm like, this retardedness, people is and then
it was Geraldo is he's the intermediary. He's the bridge. Either you're gonna cross over into that, and you're gonna cross over the Geraldo Bridge, and it's gonna take you into motherfucking, yellow journalism and all of that other shit,
Yeah.
or you're gonna get off of the Geraldo Bridge and go fuck with Donahue and them and get some great interviews, some good content. It's not as sensationalized. Yeah, Roy Ennis ran down on Al Sharpton and two-pieced him, and they had to fight with the Klan on the show, right? They was knuckling up. They was knuckling up. The chair throwing and all of that, yeah. But Geraldo got his nose broke.
Yeah.
Right? Geraldo got his nose broke.
Was it the Klan
on
or something?
live TV? Niggas was getting, that was back in them days when hands was being thrown.
Hands being thrown.
You feel me? Hands was being thrown. Shit was going down. That was them days where the basketball players was getting their teeth knocked out. Everybody was throwing knuckles here and there. Like shit was still going down. This was before the revolution of the sword.
I said you could get some hands put on you back then.
You get some shit live TV. Niggas won't even cut it out. Like
right. So all of that.
Donahue has Khaled. Yeah, he has Farrakhan. Just put it into context. Donahue has the heavy hitters. They tackle some very real topics. He has classic interviews. He had some legends in the audience.
Legends.
When it comes to journalism in the daytime, just remember, no internet. So before social, this is like getting on a podcast. This is also equivalent to being a world star.
Yeah, back then.
This is akin to a Vlad interview, niggas.
Back then,
right? Back then, there's like, think about it. How many other options do you have to be broadcasted on a nationwide syndicate for niggas to hear about you in other markets, right? For your face to get popping and whatnot, for your face to get stamped, you would get on one of those shows, and that's gonna take you like being on a podcast today. You know what I mean? Or being on Vlad and going viral. That was how niggas went viral. Yeah. I was on what was that show? What was I? I was on Change Your Heart. I was on Change Your Heart, nigga. I went viral. This is before the internet. Me and my ex, we was like, fuck it. We wanted it. I think that's paying like $300. We went and did it. Nigga, that was like getting on World Star back then.
Yeah, you did. Huh?
I did that. Yeah.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, I did. That shit is out there.
It's out
there. A free book for anybody that finds that episode.
Go find that shit, baby. We got it.
I was lit. Shorty was ready to. She was short. The girl I was with on the date, she chose up. She was like, I want him bad. And I had to leave her and stay with my girl and everything.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
Somebody said, what's the episode number? I don't even know the episode number. I was dripping and my shit was spinning. Toe black to me. You know what I mean? The nigga that my girl went on a date on, he thought that she was finna leave me for him. He was looking at me like,
Yeah, hold on. You was on there with an alias? I don't remember. That was your real shit.
I think I might have been using an alias. I was on the run or something. I don't know.
I think
that was them days, man. That was them days.
We gotta find that.
We gotta find that. You know what I mean? But getting on TV. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
That was goals. You know what I mean? We didn't have ways to go viral other than getting on TV in a type of way. And everybody didn't want to be on the news. You said, how did I get on the show? I was an actor back then. I was into the whole industry. So that would basically come through like your managers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That was a no-brainer. Casting agents. If you go and cast for like videos or a movie role and whatnot, they always put your headshot in a pile and whatnot and call you up when shit is popping up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the aspect of just being out there, that's what we was building on, right?
I
So
mean,
yeah, so Jerry and
we leading up to the Jerry dynamic, so we could segue.
right. So, and even what I was saying with Change Your Heart, that wasn't frowned upon in our hoods. Like niggas were, it was like, yo, you wildin', especially if you didn't play yourself, right? Now, if you went on TV and got played and whatnot, you had to hold that L. But if you showed up on the daytime talk shows and you was being goofy and whatnot, people would be like, you're gonna have to hold that L. Shows like Ricky Lake, I remember they did shows on Boosting and whatnot. I seen some of the niggas that we used to be in Macy's with on the show, giving up secrets and shit. I'm like, niggas is dry snitching. That's not, yeah, not on Ricky Lake, homie.
I
What
know
are
Ricky
you
Lake
doing?
do.
That was so classless.
Yeah,
Like, are you serious, nigga? On Ricky
and
Lake
yeah,
of all
that was
places?
like some of the first things that would show you what a nigga would do for some attention and some spotlight.
Some clout, right? That was the first.
Man,
That was like early clout chasing,
you gonna sit up there and talk secrets?
right? Right. Industry secrets, like nigga, what to Ricky Lake? Like, what she finna do
Yeah,
for us?
but long story short, I never was incentivized to be on none of those shows. I remember even going up to some of them, like they was on the filming. I think I went to whose daytime show I went to, maybe Montel Williams or some shit like that. I've been to a few of them.
This nigga said Montel.
Yeah, they was on 34th Street.
Now, remember the twins was working for Montel. The girls,
Oh, was they? Okay.
remember? Yeah, they were tied in.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot going on at the time. Um, but Jerry Springer was, again, it really ends up, it depends on what side of the street you belong. Some people purely saw it for entertainment. They enjoyed it, they indulged in it. It's a staple, as part of people's family, just like Married with Children is. You know what
It
I'm saying?
right because
It really appealed to the righteousness that a lot of people knew that they had in their family. People from smaller, parts of the country and shit like that. They like, yeah, that's how this shit look. Dysfunction. That's dysfunction on display. I know too many people like that. And then
but my thing is, what
for
about the
hold on, for
time?
some of us who were sheltered in the city and we only knew our environment, and there was a standard that we were all looking to achieve still at that time, and we people was still dealing with street knowledge and consciousness and revolution and the struggle and all types of shit. You looked at
Right,
that, you was like, nigga, this is what the you
right.
looked
So
at that like how we look at social media today. You
so
look
what
at
it
that like
was,
look at the timeline. You look at
right?
that like
So
how we might be looking at the goofy shit that goes on YouTube. Like,
no, that's exactly what it was, Blue. It was the earlier iteration or the exposure,
mm-hmm.
right? It would be beta testing an audience,
It was Beta Ratchet, right?
beta ratchet, right? Early iterations of what would eventually become social media, what would eventually become World Star, which would eventually become, us being exposed to middle America, then us being exposed to homeless bum fights and whatnot,
Right.
and then us
How,
being
right.
exposed to Bad Girls Club, a
How we
lot of
could look
that
at
shit,
right.
huh?
How we could look at a King Vaughn and be like, oh, the predecessor to that was GTA. That was the
Yeah,
primer. That was the conditioning. That laid, once again, that laid the soil, that a situation like that could spring forward from, to say, well, how do teens become How do our children become desensitized? Oh, from sitting in front of this shit all day. Jerry was that of its day that, like you said, later on, we will be comfortable seeing bum fights. We will be comfortable seeing people pulling their hair out, or everybody will pull a camera out and film and be like world star. All of
Right.
this
See,
conditioning,
right. This was the
normalcy,
tricky thing with,
acceptability.
right, right.
Hmm?
This was the tricky thing with a Jerry Springer, right? That I want to point out to people. When and I want somebody to go on Google what was his first what was the first years that he launched his business and whatnot. I want to know the timeline because for the children that were born into a Jerry Springer era, right? Them watching the depictions of what he was over sensationalizing, right? His producers, because when you watch the documentary, you begin to understand that the producer, I forgot his name, but he's a race. You could look at him and tell that he's one of those quote unquote, you could just look at him and tell where his mind is at. Huh?
Documentaries on Netflix. Where the doc at?
I saw the documentary on Netflix about 2 years ago or a year ago. Jerry started in 91. So think about it. I'm born in 75. When I look at Jerry's show, I know that it's sensationalism. But what about a 2-year-old that's born in 91 watching Jerry Springer in 93 and whatnot? So when the 3-year-old or the 5-year-old in 91 is watching Jerry Springer, their minds are impressionable. So they're seeing a sister up there. She's like, yo, I slept with 20 dudes and I still don't know who the father is. Or I slept with my dad and whatnot, or my stepdad, and in the family dog and whatnot. And I'm having complications over which one I love the most. And then Jerry Springer is up there with this is an ex-politician. He used to be a goddamn governor. So when you're
No,
talking
a
about,
mayor. He wasn't a
huh?
governor. He was a mayor. He was
He
not a
was a
governor.
mayor. My bad. I said governor. He was a political elected official, right? Similar to if Joe Biden, right? Or similar to if Rudolph Giuliani became a goddamn talk show host, and it was a talk show of people having they were having fights that were akin to fights that they have at the UFC with Israel and all of those other guys bashing faces in. You know when they get you down and they start going pound town on you, right? So it's akin to something like that where people are getting knuckled up and get killed on the show, and Rudy is just sitting there laughing and whatnot, wiping blood off of his shirt, saying, to the commercial, right? That's because remember, he was dealing with something called shock jocking. That's the brand of media that Jerry Springer is involved in, meaning that none of that all of that shit was scripted. Is the precursor to Love and Hip Hop. It's the precursor to the Bad Girls Club. It's the precursor to all of the reality. It's the precursor to online media snuff films. It's the precursor to gonzo porn. It's the precursor to a lot of the dysfunction that you see online. These are the quote unquote, this is how the goal line is moved and whatnot. So this is the seeding that they seeded the people over years. You might have got 10 years from 91 to 2001, right? The internet comes post 2001 after the fall of the towers and after 9/11. Then that begins the rise of this new, after Y2K is the rise of this digital shit. But you were being seeded and demoralized. You were devalued because this nigga popped up, Maury popped up, the Stephen McConus show popped up, and about 4 or 5 other clones and everything popped up, and they began to just continuously feed our people, the chitlins of what they call talk show entertainment that paled in comparison to what Donahue and them brought to the table. Even what fucking Oprah was bringing in terms of her journalism. This shit that they gave us was cosmic slop.
And this is a fact. And it's important to always look at, like you did, it's always to put things in perspective of timing. Right. Yeah, and then the court shows, right? Law and Order. When I'm saying Law and Order, I don't mean the show Law and Order. I mean the whole genre of Law and Order, right? Again, the introduction of cops,
Right.
crime and punishment, right? All post crack era. You feel
Right.
me? So the break,
Desensitizing,
right? Yeah, the breakdown of
demoralizing.
households are really taking place. The inner cities exploding into criminology to a degree where things are kind of somewhat out of control. The loss of morals, right? The guardrails coming off, and then we can juxtapose and say, there was one incident that kind of led to this, led up to it, and that was memorialized today as well. So the death of Carolyn Dunham is her name,
Carolyn Bryant Dunham,
right? At the age of
88.
she transitions at the age of 88. 68 years ago, she accused a 14-year-old child named Emmett Till of sexual impropriety, whether brushing up on her or whistling at her. I think it was just whistling, right? He
Right.
hollered at her. And for that, he had to pay with his life, right? And they desecrated his body. This becomes the linchpin that kicks off the civil rights movement, right? Which ultimately leads to integration, right? Us being accepted into a burning house and being so fascinated as to what's going on the TV of that burning house, we were willing, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
We were willing to step over the fire and all of that just to get into the house to watch that color TV or whatever ratchetness was taking place. Now I'm using that as an analogy to say we were invited into dysfunctional homes of white America for the first time ever. And this closeness and commonality, this bridge that was built, was forged out of, revolution. It was soft revolution and it was hard revolution taking place at the same time,
Right.
right? Our people were pressing aggressively, taking up arms and doing things that they had to do. And then they were marching in the South and taking up, the civil rights movement and attempting to do things nonviolently. Ultimately, right, I would say a combination of both of them because they were playing chess with King to marginalize Malcolm X and the the threat of a violent escalation. So they had to, play politics, and this is where the Civil Rights Acts come out of in 64.
Right.
Okay. So legislation ultimately comes out of this incident to appease and mitigate melanated people during a time of uprising. This brings about so many things happen during this period. This short period of time from 1955, let's just say from 1955 to 1968 to April 4th to the murder of MLK, right? Think about how much legislation came about. Think about the introduction, the CIA introduction of MK Ultra, the FBI introduction of COINTELPRO, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fallout of King, the vacuum that's created that brings about now the rise of the Panthers. The Panthers already came about in 66. So they start coming about after the fall of Malcolm X,
Malcolm X.
right? And the militancy that comes about that sparked with that, and these different pockets of organizations that start coming about in these movements. All of this being spawned for the most part, right? The powder keg that lit it and blew it all up was this incident in 1955 that was gaslit by this woman who later on in life said she was lying to begin with. And then as of recently, people were saying, well, she should be charged if she was lying. And her
Right.
people held her
Citizens
down
arrest.
to her last dying day and said, we will go to war rather than hand this lady over to you. And our people couldn't even get a lock of hair, a speckle of
From her.
spit, or a
Right.
drop of blood to do the work that's necessary to create a black hole around the conditions that our people have experienced from 1955 until this very day, right? Based on a lie that this lady told. Now, some people can sit back and say, well, I'm in a good space because of that. Look what came about. I'm in Atlanta. You're in Atlanta, of all places. This city was built out of the ashes of the civil rights movement, out of the blood and the sacrificial blood of MLK. The other day, we lose Harry Belafonte, right? Who becomes activated during this period in time and invites, King invited Harry Belafonte to a speech that he gave at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and that's how they got on. But Belafonte was he was Jay-Z of his time at that time.
Right. He was the big homie.
He was the big homie. He was the big dog. You know what I'm saying? And then he politicizes himself and makes a dedication to his people that he takes with him to the grave.
Right. He still taught to the he still taught to the last day.
So yeah. So this lady lived to be 88. The incident that we're speaking about was 68 years ago. The day before, or 2 days before, Belafonte makes transition, Automatics makes transition.
Automatics,
right?
attorney at war.
The attorney at war, who was an attorney for during the Tawana Brawley case, who was an attorney for Michael Stewart, who was an attorney for Yusef Hawkins, who was Yusef Hawkins made transition. But he was involved in the case.
Right. He was on the front line.
He was on the front line. All of them cases, everything that we grew up with, me and you, seeing on TV in the early 80s when we were seeing Reverend Al Sharpton, and we like, he's a clown, but them dudes around him look serious. Vernon C. Maxwell, Automatics. We remember they was attorneys.
They was
busting their guns.
Right.
On TV. We seen it. So all of this continuation for the campaign, for the struggle, all of this, pushing the ball forward for our people to get some semblance of redress, respect in this country. You know what I'm saying? From lies being told and lives being taken as a result. You know what I'm saying? Only for what? For our people to be full-flown, participatory, you know what I'm saying? In their own demise in these campaigns that was wrought, whether it was, post-crack or post-coke or post-dope, the Doozy era, right? But more so when Jerry came around and provided that platform for niggas to showcase their complete dysfunction in a post-crack era. You know what I mean? People took them up on that offer. And it was very hard initially for us to tell the blurred lines about what was scripted and what was not. Because then I remember getting incarcerated and I was meeting people from some of these small towns to be like, nah, I knew homie that did that. I knew shorty, yeah, she slept with 30 niggas. You know what I'm saying? So all of them stories wasn't just necessarily
right.
scripted. People was like, nah, that's from my town. That's really how they get down out here. And you like, damn, well, what the hell is taking place in these places that are not necessarily large cities? And you would soon find out that, a nigga's got more in common with hillbillies than you cared to know.
Right.
and that's
it got somewhat normalized by being on
super
daytime
normalized.
television. Right.
It got super normalized.
It got
here we are
normalized.
today. You feel me? And then people are saying, well, how did we get here? Nigga.
Right. I remember we used to play hooky.
Nigga.
And we would watch Jerry Springer.
Springer.
So the way that they had Jerry Springer lined up in the daytime, you would be exposed to it if you was doing some shit that you wasn't supposed to be doing.
Right.
As a child.
Yeah, you supposed to be at work or you're supposed
to be at work or at school. But they had some shit available.
They was rivaling that. And they knew it. They was rivaling that. They like, now we're gonna
Yeah,
rival
they was
with these niggas.
counterproducting that. They was like, if you sell crack, if you skip school, if you have bucked the system, then I have some
Yeah,
programming for your ass
this
called the
show's for
Jerry
you.
Springer Show.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
black people mimic behaviors, right? We mimic behaviors,
Unfortunately,
and we saw dysfunction and we mimicked it
yeah.
because I saw people begin to pick up the
All of the tropes.
the tropes, right? They begin to mimic the behaviors in our close-knit communities and whatnot. There was already somewhat dysfunction, but they pushed the envelope and gave people permission to take it a little bit further.
Yeah. So, you know, Jerry, you know what I'm saying, ends up providing a stage and a platform and being so cunning, you know, with his hands-off approach, like, I ain't had nothing to do with this. You know, they just ratchet. Look at them. You know what I'm saying? I can't even help them if I wanted to.
Right.
And then things just carry on the way that they carry on. And again, you know, no need to complain over spilt milk. We are where we're at today. You know what I'm saying? But we should be allowed to put it in perspective, to make an observation, to look back and see what happened. You know what I mean? And really speak to these things. Because yeah, we're in a weird space right now. Again, what we seeing, the disintegration of mainstream media, because I would think the news for the most part is precipitated on trust. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the same thing that I was saying with the medical industry. Both of these industries are precipitated on trust, right? And you're going to them to get facts, to make life decisions based on information. You feel
And the
me?
banking.
Hmm?
And the banking industry that has a contagion in it right now is based off of trust.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And
So
there's a
Bacon has a
contagion.
contagion, right? Which is dealing with the currency, and the currency is only propped up by trust, right? So there is a retreat of trust, and then they're globally, the other countries are showing you that they are what? Dropping their trust in the dollar. So that's causing subconscious stirring in people's mentality. Well, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? And I'm
Right.
feeling isolated. The world starts to feel a whole lot smaller. You dig what I'm saying? You're dealing with lapse in trust in the medical institutions, right? Because all of the proof is out there. You know what I'm saying? If you just in denial at this point, that's just what it is. But you can Google this shit. You know what I'm saying? It was a complete farce, and it was put together from the top down. And it was a global campaign, right? To corral the people and to put profits over people, right? That took place. That happened. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That took place. There's distrust in the military, right? Because they like, shit, if a low-level Air Force National Guardsman got access to these secrets, nigga, who else got access to it? Like, these are not even high-level people. And they able to pick your shit like that apart on Discord. We thought this shit was impenetrable. Like, where's the safety measures? There are no guardrails.
No guardrails.
And then there's the lack and trust in media, where people have to get their reliable source, where it becomes your fountain. Your fountain is dirty. The dog pees in the fountain. Damn, I ain't drinking from that fountain no more. Where you gonna get your news? I'm gonna go on social media. Well, goddamn. I mean, the majority of people are doing that, but once again, now with the rise of AI, it's like, all right, well, how can you know what is reliable? How do you know what's real?
Right.
Right?
In the future, the term proof of human is going to be a lot more prevalent than it is today. Proof of human.
Proof
You're
of
going to have to
right.
prove that a human was there. You're going to have to prove that you're human.
Yeah, somebody said BAI. Yeah, I mean, you go to BAI, I go to BAI. at my trusted source.
But yeah,
I don't
everybody don't know
watch
about that.
CNN and I don't watch Fox. So I'm not losing, any source of information to begin with. You know what I'm saying? But
Somebody said, did the Cosby Show and Different World give balance to the ratchetness?
I mean,
Um,
the ratchetness was a response to
the ratchetness response,
Cosby
yeah,
Show in Different World.
it wasn't even, yeah, like the at the heights of Cosby Show, Different World programming and whatnot, the ratchetness wasn't even it wasn't unbalanced. It was a real healthy balance of it,
Yeah, the ratchetness was always the exception and not the rule.
and not the rule.
Initially, now it's the rule and not the exception, and the tables have turned. And you know, but yeah, I mean, and that's what they was listening because the streets wanted something that was a little bit more ratchet because their thing would always be like, oh, that's not real. The Cosby Show is not a depiction of our actual life. Again, mind you, we are going through the crack era during the time when these shows are at their prominence. So
Right.
there was a level of dysfunction that people wanted to identify with. And when they put Cops out as a show, and that show did so well, you know what I'm saying? That was kind of telling them that they like, oh, people want ratchet. Not only are you going through this shit, but you're being entertained by the pain that comes along with it.
Right. No,
So
Cops
they
was a
giving you the
breakthrough show for
on
them.
one side, right, as a litmus test to see what people's tolerance is, and then
Right.
they're giving you Cops on another side. Why we want to watch the homies getting locked up, right? But niggas get to see base heads on TV and laugh at them. You know what I'm
Oh no,
saying?
that was entertaining, bro. That
Yeah.
shit, they brought that to the living rooms of
Yeah, they
America.
brought that
That
to the living rooms of
to
America.
see criminals getting captured.
You seeing criminals get captured, and then they hitting you with motherfucking America's Most Wanted. All of that shit was. I don't think I missed too many of them episodes initially.
I
You
was
feel me?
catching all them shits.
Yeah, I don't think I was watching Cops like that, but I wasn't missing America's Most Wanted. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
yeah, we belonged to a two-parent household at the time. My father was a professional. He was employed. He was a professor, and that he was aspirational. You know what I'm saying? We went from an apartment to a house, and he was looking to level up from there. So we could relate. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's Brooklyn Heights. We know what block that is. We ain't always see the people over there that look like us, but we knew what the block was. So we
Right.
like, yeah, that's not outside of the scope of reality of what melanated people can achieve. And then Different World looked like, something that was relatable. And then Spike Lee gave you School Days to
Yeah,
give it,
once Spike Lee hit you with
yeah,
School Days,
like, oh, it's ratchet.
and
Okay.
then I got to go to Clinton Hills. I saw Branford Marcellus, A.A. Rashid and them. They knew the Marcelluses. So we got to see examples of melanated people that lived in brownstones, that had shit going
They
on
live
other
like the
than
Cosby's, yeah.
criminality and whatnot. So we were exposed to that. So it wasn't when I was watching the Different World and the Cosbys and the way that melanated people were moving. I aspired to see more of that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So like Blue said, Fox in particular was the response to what NBC was giving us
It was
through
anti-thesis.
positive
Yeah.
imagery and programming. Cosby had Thursdays on lock, and like all y'all know the story, nigga got greedy and started to try to buy shit, and shit went upside down from there, and it ain't never get straight from that point. And you know, we got these, we got these pushback shows, and it started with love in marriage, but the animated version of Married with Children, in my humble opinion, is The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, of
So The
course.
Simpsons has a historic run on Fox as an animated series, and then it becomes more debased with American Guy, American Dad, Family Guy, and some other cartoons. That whole Ren and Stimpy, um, there's a series that talks about the change in cartoons, how it went from certain type of cartoons into a certain type of drawing style and into the adult cartoon where you had Seth Rogen and all of these other dudes who are questionable. They, you know, Seth MacFarlane, Seth Rogen, you know, a lot of these Hollywood dudes who are tied into pedo activities and other little things, they get behind this new branch of comedy where they're interjecting all of this other shit inside of it, and it takes it away from a lot of the simplisticness that we were used to.
Right.
And yeah, robot chicken and all of that. A lot of the things that we were used to growing up, and it pales, you know, it's different from that. Yeah, when South
South
Park
Park,
start coming around and
yeah.
they're you know they're making fun of people and shit like that. Yeah, Archie Bunker and Al Bundy are somewhat of the same character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it helps to mention that Jerry Springer is broadcasting out of Chicago, right? Shout out to my Chicago people. How did he represent Chicago? How did his shows help to perpetuate that Chicago mentality, right? Because Oprah is also out of Chicago, and so is Jerry Jones. Jimmy, what's her name? What's the lady name? Something Jones.
What's her name again? Jenny Jones.
Jenny Jones. Yeah, your MILF, your MILF.
Yeah, Chicago was the home to, you know, some broadcasting titans. Yeah, Beavis and
Right.
Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead.
So
Another
they,
one
yeah,
from
they was
MTV.
just chipping away.
Right. Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
They start chipping away and you know, they're chipping and shit like that. Sally Jesse Raphael, Jenny Jones. You feel me? Roseanne was where? In Chicago too?
I believe so. That it was set.
Yeah. So Chicago broadcasting, interesting, right? Very interesting as to what was taking place in Chi-Town with the broadcasting of the daytime television and what level of programming, because we haven't even addressed the level of programming that the Oprah show represented, right? That's a whole nother level of programming. But we're dealing with debasement, we're dealing with debasement, demoralization, we're dealing with the the fingerprints of what I've talked about before, and that's the westernized mentality of the German philosopher Nietzsche, right? The mentality of demoralizing the people, right? Devaluing the people. How do you collapse a society? You demoralize them, you make them debased and whatnot, you devalue them, and it's very hard for a society or a civilization of people to basically snap back from that.
That
Once
was
that
fact, right?
genie is out of the bottle, it's very hard to put that genie back in. So the arguments that you're hearing from Vladimir Putin and also coming out of China, the audacity, they're not really the ones talking about it. It's more so coming from Vladimir Putin, the Greek Orthodox Church, and other quote unquote entities like Iran and them who becoming moral authorities or attempting to become moral authorities against American culture. They're like, yo, them niggas is bankrupt culturally. They
Right.
have internal struggles. They're pushing LBGT all across Africa and other places in the Middle East and getting heavy pushback and whatnot. So these brick organizations are saying, in order to preserve our values,
Right.
in order to preserve our way of life, in order to preserve our tradition,
Right. Think about that. Yeah. So
in order
there's an identifiable cultural war within the borders of the US, right? Being led by DeSantis. The whole political machine right now is talking about culture wars,
culture wars, they
right?
anti-woke campaigns and
Right.
shit.
So that's the internal struggle. Then globally, there is the identification of, yo, they got a debased culture that we all need to push back against, right? And both of them, inside and outside, of dealing with the Western's promotion of LGBT agendas and what have you. And, you know, the red states are looking at it one particular way, and then red China and the rest of them is looking at it one particular way. And they got more in common than they have, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Than they don't.
So the fingerprints of this demoralized culture, the fingerprints of this debased culture, the fingerprints, once again, lead back to a specific ethnic group, right, who had the same type of charges levied against them in Europe for hundreds of years, right? That somehow, some way, they always managed to be the hidden hand behind the demoralization. They were chastised for introducing debauchery in the form of pornography for centuries.
It's a fact.
These are what you call the small hats,
Yeah.
right? Who he was one of them.
Yeah, this guy,
This
his
guy
folks,
right here, former mayor of Cincinnati and whatnot. How the hell is Cincinnati these days?
yeah,
Right?
folks
It
from Germany.
always tends to come back to these agents, right? So, what do these agents play a great part in? They play a great part in eroding, right,
Social
the
structure.
inner structure of societies by doing what? By introducing debauchery and norms that will basically self-destruct any society.
Yeah, his people fled Germany at the time. You know,
Keep right.
his
So when
folks
I
from
speak
Germany.
about the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, right?
Nietzsche.
And many
Yeah,
of us Nietzsche. If you were in college and studied any type of college courses and whatnot,
Nietzsche.
then you'll be familiar with this philosopher. He will be what is considered their master teacher, right? Their big homie. And one of the thing about Western man, and I can't say the same thing about the African or the Aboriginal indigenous, primarily because we're removed from our master teachers. We could go back maybe 100 years to Noble Drew Ali, Elijah, Marcus, and whatnot, but we don't, a lot of us can't really name master teachers or thought leaders from the 1600s or the 1700s who put out books that we're following this their formulas and their methods step for step. You niggas is locked into the biblios helios and whatnot. A lot of our people are religious and we're locked into them holy books. But this philosopher, he built on the great nihilists, right? He talked greatly about nihilism, right? He declared that God is dead. There's not a group of people amongst Africans that debate openly about God being dead, right? That's not considered African thought or Moorish thought and whatnot or Aboriginal thought when we contemplate our place in the universe and what is the reason for our existence here. We had already solved shit like that. That's not our quote unquote struggle and whatnot. We don't promote nihilism. We don't promote the destruction of nature. We don't promote atheism. We don't promote that shit, bro. We don't promote that's nihilism. That's the shit that got people walking around saying that they don't need to procreate their bloodline, that they don't need to carry on tradition and whatnot. When somebody brought them here, that's that shit these are the building blocks of destruction that you will find these people have successfully built like Lego blocks over the past few decades when their influence has been allowed to motherfucking take reign in our societies and whatnot. Because that shit wasn't affecting us before we were integrated with them. We wasn't rocking like we wasn't getting rocked to sleep like this. We was living in America, right? But we was behind enemy lines. Like we understood not to get quote unquote programmed to the level that our people are being programmed right now. To the level to whereas I had to play a video clip on my Instagram that I might show y'all in a minute from what's her name?
Sukiana.
Sukiana, right? A celebrity the little girls is watching because she's on Love and Hip Hop. How do I know? Because my daughter was watching her when I went to go visit her. Her mama had her watching Love and fucking Hip Hop, and Sukiana's on there. So these children is watching TikTok and whatnot, and that clip is on TikTok. And Sukiana's on that clip talking about she wants men to defecate on her and urinate on her hair and whatnot, and that's the shit that she's into. But what I'm saying is this, because they're gonna try to justify their kinks, because you know, you niggas out here is on the dark side and all of that stupid shit, right? But check this out, right? That there's a thin line between kinks and there's a thin line between what is known as depravity, right? There's a thin line between kinks and there's a thin line between demoralization. There's a thin line between kinks and there's a thin line between dehumanization, right? Ghetto gagging somebody is dehumanizing them. Y'all think that shit is a turn on. They program you to think that there's something sexy about 50 Shades of Grey and whatnot, that there's something kinky or something sexy or something to be adoration, right? To some of the things that the worst of the European have normalized through marketing and promotion.
But, you know, like somebody commented earlier, you know, a lot of our community was introduced to BDSM and things of that nature via Jerry. So it's just been normalized, and, you know, people's sexual proclivities are just different.
Of course.
And yeah, you know, I ain't finna be policing,
not at all,
what they do and how they do their thing. I mean, because we already are across that line. Like we're beyond that point. And yeah, you know,
no,
and that's what they on. And they have these platforms and these networks now where they can all be a little Jerry Springer right on their timeline.
Right on their timeline.
So yeah, it you know, like you said, being born in it and not the generation that was born in it, that was raised in it, that was 1 year old on their Pampers looking at the TV and looking at Jerry, and that was their daytime entertainment. Yeah, like yeah, these people is into some, you know, different shit, man. And it's like,
definitely,
how do you turn back the hands? Like, how do you scale it back? You feel me?
You don't.
You don't.
You can't.
I mean,
you
right?
Can't unsee it.
Moralization.
You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Right? The desecration and destruction of society, you know, by eroding the moral fabric of it. You know what I'm saying? And it definitely, you know, how people show up in their social interactions, which is for the most part sex. It tells a lot, you know what I mean, about
Did you get to see that Tupac on Hulu?
I did, and it was
talk about it.
Yes, it was an amazing production. I felt very much educated and inspired by it, and you know, this person's ability to tell their own story from the grave, just like the fourth production that I seen. This nigga's telling his own story from the grave, and it's compelling, and it is, you know, it's the perfect tie-in to this discussion that we're having. You know what I'm saying? From both ends of the spectrum. You know, his mother come from the South, some of the same area where that Carolyn Dunham lady come from, that same environment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she uses her skill set, her education, her mind to bust a move and get out of that small town and impact, you know, a metropolis such as New York. You know what I'm saying? With her passion and her enthusiasm, rises to the ranks initially in the Panthers because she wants to be socially inactive. she's part of a social upheaval or movement that's not
Right.
necessarily civil rights, but to me runs side by side with it because it all is dealing with our people's upward mobility at that time. That was again the powder keg, the off to the races, that was Emmett Till. So
Right.
as a young lady, she was impacted and affected by it. Everybody was, right? And then she raises her child during a period, once again, when society is now, falling victim to the traps that have been laid as a response to our revolutionary spirit. They're bringing the doozy in the neighborhood. They're bringing the coke in the neighborhoods. Prostitution is, where it's at and what have you. And Pac is growing up in the midst of all of this, but always keeping, in his mind the things that were instilled to him initially by his mother, or seeing, the Panthers, and their ability to organize, their ability to work as a team, the appreciation that he had for the arts. I
Right.
mean, homie was
As
just
a
a true Gemini
thespian.
as a thespian. You know what I'm saying? Him being able to balance his masculinity. People can see in this documentary, he had, it was two sides to him, like there's two sides to all of us. He
He's a
had a very
Gemini.
feminine disposition. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You know what I mean?
I said it on the show, the last show, that that's the Pac that I like to see. You know, I like to see
Yeah.
I call that the mysterious side of him, the side that
So
we're not allowed
yeah,
to see.
we got a front seat and we got a front seat observation into somebody who was born into the revolution, whose entire lifespan, 25 years, a quarter of a century, but he personified our story as a people, right? Post integration, right?
Right.
Post civil rights, right? He embodied it. He was what do they call it? A Panther baby,
Bastard of the party.
bastard of the party, right? And what is the party? The party is the Black Panther Party. What is the bastard of it? They lost their parents. The children that were born into the party
Orphaned.
post COINTELPRO, they were orphans. Those became, the first, um,
Gangbangers.
uh, the first gangbangers. The children that have now come back from the war that have tactical knowledge, but they still got a revolutionary spirit. Then they start becoming socially active in their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Until it becomes friction, and then
Right.
they bang out as an outlet of that frustration. I'm gonna air you out. You know what I mean? Yeah, 12, maybe, he get a pass today, but I'm gonna ride on the homies. And then it starts a retaliatory cycle that never ends. Um, but let's put this in perspective. This man was 25 years old, right? We seen him in a short amount of time, as literally as a child, conquer. You feel me? Conquer, move on his passions. And I was watching, it wasn't a documentary, but it was an interview with Lance Rivera, and he was speaking about Big. And what I get with both of these individuals was that small window that was open for them, where they had to make life decisions and choices that would alter their lives forever, and they were able to jump through those windows and make one choice that altered their lives forever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yeah.
And it was, they was hanging in the balance based on those choices that they made. They should would have ended up totally different had they made a different choice, right? Had they not jumped through that window. But we seen Pop, continuously seize on these opportunities and level up to a degree where he now becomes bigger than life, his own life. He outlived his own myth, and he became,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, that person that internally he always wanted to be. And then we lost him at such a young age, but look at all that he got accomplished: movies, albums, cultural revolutions, you know what I'm saying, carrying the weight of being a bastard of the party, being a child of the Panthers, and the movement no longer moving, but you still
Right.
gotta
And then
move
fitting
with it.
in. Right.
But you
Finding your
still gotta
place.
move. You still gotta find your place.
He was an outcast.
Right? The awkwardness of being, you know what I'm saying, a bastard of the party, a child that was born into the revolution when niggas is on pimps and gangsters and all of that, not having the societal support, but still having to hold your mama up, but still acknowledging that she's the most powerful and strongest person that you know in your dynamic, and then seeing her weak, and then being able to do what? Forgive her for her weakness and finding strength in forgiving, and then her finding strength in your ability to see her humanity, and all of this taking place while you are able to what? Execute something that she internalized into you about goddamn pigs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was able to put that work in, you feel me?
Right.
Just for my mama. And then go to the room and put the tape in. This is for my mama. And then she come and get him and then put the tape in for her. And this is for my mama. And that was just such a paradigm shifting, riveting moment, because I remember when I heard that song and what it did for me and where I was at that time of my life with my mama.
Right.
And I share this story and I'll tell it again. Like my criminality in my past, the things that I was doing, because I was gambling with my life every single day, and it wasn't even an afterthought. And you know it because I'm preaching to the choir. But we were almost looking, we were ready to die for the most part. That's almost how we were showing up in life. We was throwing everything at the wall. You know what I'm saying? That one day I had to go and tell my mama that I was like, yo, I blew trial and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to sit down for a little while. She's like, what's a little while? I was like, maybe 6 months. And she broke down crying. I was on the steps on Clinton Avenue. And that's the only time that it became real to me. It sobered me all the way up. It was such a sobering moment that I would never forgive it. I would never
Right.
forget it. And it was the most humbling, humanizing moment of my life that has stood out to me. Seeing my mother cry and seeing, her shed tears for a situation that I put myself in made me sober up to not want to put her in that situation no more. So that song, I remember I got locked up, boom, and then the album came out. You know what I'm saying? And I
Right.
came into contact with that song, and it was so outside of the norm of what we was hearing at the time. And it was so noble of a gesture that I was like, damn, son made a whole song for his mama.
Right.
And the shit slaps.
Right. And it slaps. Yeah, that was different
You know
back
what I mean?
then. Niggas was
And yeah,
those
like
wasn't tapping into their heart chakras like that.
shout out to the Hughes brothers. I'm not into, whatever happened with them, but I think that they came back on this one and qualified whatever open-ended issues they may have had. I know that Pac on the ethereal level, he should be good because they told the story expertly. I was able to feel it. Brenda's Got a Baby, that story, you know what I mean? How they laid that out.
Yeah, I gotta
Like,
go see that.
oh, you ain't see it.
Nah, I didn't see it. I'm asking you
Oh
about
nah,
it. I
son,
didn't see
let
it
me cut
yet.
it out. I'm over here pouring this shit
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
We'll
Yeah, I didn't see
go
it
see
yet.
that joint. Yeah, we'll circle the wagon and really get
Okay.
into it's to me, yeah, it's a cultural moment. As all of this is, just all of this are opportunities. These are all cultural moments that we get to get jump in a DeLorean and go back and watch some things. So I got a message from Hard Bottoms that he seen mom in a documentary So I went and watched that. It was called, baby, was it called Culture Wars? Yeah, I think it was called Culture Wars. It's on Hulu, and the first
Yeah.
episode was about Michael Jackson, right? So I had went and watched that joint. You know what I'm saying? Again, just the moments. You know, if you live through it, it has more of a meaning to you. So I don't know who the audience is or what have you, but you know, for those of us that live through it, let me speak for us. You know what I'm saying? Living through that whole period in time of Michael Jackson's ascension, you know what I'm saying, and his downfall, being able to watch that and put it in perspective. And you know, you like, I lived through this. I know these stories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But good production, the way that these niggas be telling these stories, and some of these um parts that you might have missed, that have not might not have been in there, the little pieces that you know got left out, that when you hear them, you're able to really make sense of shit.
Right.
Yeah, that you know, going back and learning some of these histories about some of these people, and you know what I mean, and just putting things in perspective. Like, someone's the biggest entertainer on the planet. Like, you know, the pressure of this shit. Like, when people be asking for it, do you really know what it entails? You sure this is what you want? This
This is what you want.
is what you want, and people still gonna be like, give it here. Granted,
Right.
as you supposed to, but yeah, man, these documentaries be giving it up. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you said mom was in a documentary,
Yeah, they gave her a look. She had a few looks in that joint.
and that was from Harlem where we was outside.
Yes, on 25th Street. She's documented. She's enshrined in history forever.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what
I
I
gotta
mean?
check that out.
They got like three different scenes with her in there, all
Yeah, I
through it.
remember she was turned up.
She was turned up. And I remember I went to Harlem that Friday and I never left. He died on Thursday, and we went to the park afterwards to
Central Park.
Central Park, to the obelisk, to do a ceremony, a homegoing ceremony for him, because they was killing him in the press, dogging his name. And I went to speak to the answer. You know, I put a call out for us to gather there so we can do something ritualistic to speak to our ancestors, to ask them to give this man safe passage, you know, because he had an indelible effect on our lives, you know, regardless of, you know, I don't know the intricacies of everything that took place, but I can only speak to what he did for us. And we went and did that, you know, on his behalf. And the next day, I went to Harlem, and the energy, you know what I'm saying, of that environment.
Good.
Because remember, to the audience, I was working at Epic Records at the time, on Nipsey project. I couldn't go back in that building after that, you know, because I would always have to walk by his plaques on the 21st floor. That's where my office was at. And I remember like that last week that I was there, right before I had left, I was in my office like 2 in the morning doing work, and I had to go to the bathroom. And I remember walking by his plaques, and them shits was like 36.
It was like
Yeah,
36 tracks.
it don't stop. Yeah, you just walking through like the whole wall. It's just niggas plaques is running down the wall, and I was like, man, because they call that building the house that Michael built. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Rightfully so.
And I'm like, if they could do this to Mike, bro,
Nobody's safe.
yeah, on some Tucker Carlson shit, like. I'm like, nobody say I gotta look to, you know what I mean? And I ain't like to. I was in the elevator with Cloud Day. I ain't like the energy of of
I
that.
was too.
Yeah. I didn't like the industry. I didn't like the energy of it. I didn't like the fakeness of it. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't see a scalable future necessarily in that environment at that time for me, when
Yo,
Mike
you know what's interesting?
snapped me out of it. Yeah.
I left J Records the day my son was born.
Hmm.
I was working at J Records at Polo Grounds right?
Yeah.
And that's the same story that I got. When my son was born, when Amir was born, I was already contemplating my future there because I was like, yo, I don't really see a future here. You know, I don't see how I could scale this shit. You know what I mean? I've been here for a minute. I just don't, you know what I mean? I don't really see. Um, and then boom, my son was born, and I never went back. Like I didn't go to work the next day, and I was like, fuck it, I ain't going back. I'm rocking out. I'm going back to 125th Street. Spirit told me once I see my son come out of that portal, Spirit was like, nigga, you got to go hit the streets and really turn up and take this shit serious. And that's what happened. You know, that's what happened. You know, so I feel you on that. That was a transformative energy, a transformative time. It was very been a it very it pushed us on our path undeniably.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so yeah, all of these moments, you know, these big moments in time, these cultural moments, um, I give thanks for, you know, the opportunity and ability to put things in perspective. You know, even yeah, this channel, y'all, that this channel was started out of that. You know, we started this channel in 2009, you know, right after that period in time when we
Right.
left,
We was
when I
able
left
to afford some equipment.
Harlem, and I showed them how to use YouTube. I showed Red how to use YouTube in '09, and the rest is history. He created this channel, and we've been rocking on it ever since.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. But yeah, man, this episode has been very powerful. I appreciate the perspective that we were able to both share. I'm sure that we were able to enlighten some of our audience. I'm really interested in enlightening, you know, some of the family that was born in the 90s, like 91 and post, somebody born in the early 2000s and shit like that. I want y'all to be able to get a picture painted for you. I did a great job in the first part on Melanin Monday, got in the time machine, and we
yeah,
talked about all of the music that primed us and prepared us and kind of like programmed us and groomed us
I
to
mean, you
be
know, yeah, like
global citizens, to be musical connoisseurs. Like, I didn't even talk about the aspect of jazz in my household. I just was giving y'all a rundown of how we were listening to rock and roll, R&B, soul music, gospel to a degree sometimes, but the most prominent and dominant sound that I grew up listening to undeniably was jazz. Me and Blue Pill are jazz babies. We are children of the jazz of the horn. Coltrane played in my house like Millie Jackson played in Little Kim's house. You know, she grew up listening. But yeah, jazz is the foundation. That's our DNA, you know, brass instruments. So here we are with part two. The dominoes continue
yeah,
to
I think
fall.
like the dude, Travelord Ross really showed me, you know, you gotta do documentaries, you gotta do deep dives. So I think that that populace that you want to educate and speak to, they could really benefit from you doing a documentarian style history of Ratchet TV leading to social media.
Right.
That would be a dope deep dive.
Yeah, what the new genre is called video essays, right? So what Trap Law is exploring is called video essays. Now, for this channel, Know the Ledge, and moving into Netflix, that is a pivot that I'm ready to go. And, you know, I'm ready to go in that direction wholeheartedly. I would definitely say that it would be incumbent on Patreons If we were about to, if I was to get about 1,000 Patreons, I would be able to fund that type of operation to do video essays, because those take about, a 3 hour. He did a 3 hour video essay on King Vaughn. He
Right.
did 5 million views, but I think it took about 2 months to make.
Yeah. 2 or 3, he said.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I
So
would
you
love to do.
need a nice little support cushion to get things done.
Yeah. I would love to do that. I'm ready to do that. I think that that's the best way that we could basically really emboss these narratives and this real fucking information, the facts that are not, you're not gonna get it through CNN. I mean, Don Lemon is out. Who the hell y'all got running the ball over there? Rachel Maddow, Joy Leary, what was her name?
They not even over there.
Who the one who used to be on Biden team? She played flag football.
Cross, what's her name?
Nah, she bald headed. Simone.
Oh,
She looked like she do UFC, so on the
I
side.
don't watch that shit. I have no idea.
All
I can't
right.
tell you the last time I seen CNN.
Yeah. Video. Yeah. That part.
Yes. Yeah, Miles Davis. Check out Betty Davis documentary as well. His wife. They don't give her enough props. They don't talk about her. She was a trailblazer.
Yeah,
She
she
set the
was.
ratchet off.
She was. Yeah. Simone Sanders. Aha! I remember I interviewed her at the NFL protest when me and Rich was out there. And Yandy said we was mad woke. She was like, "Oh, y'all woke." I was like, "Nigga, is that an insult? Like, what the fuck is that?"
You can't tell these days. All right, my
But yeah,
G. I appreciate you, man.
that part. To the family out there, thank y'all for being in the
Yeah,
building with
and
us.
let me do say Jerry was a 44 resonator. By far. He was born on February 13th, 1944. So he was born on the 44th day, right, of the year, which is February 13th in 1944. And he shares this particular dubious date with Carol, what's her last
Bryant
name? Yeah.
Dunham,
And she
Carol Bryant
was
Dunham.
of the age of 88.
No,
So
he's 79. I fucked it up. She was 88, right?
she's 88. Yeah.
Okay, he's 79.
79. So, 44 and 44 is 88. So it's in a weird way, you know what I'm saying? They are,
Nah, yeah, you tied it in.
yeah,
But
they
yeah,
met
y'all, we smoking them packs tonight. I
already.
do have a promotion going on. If anybody, we have 44 packs.
Or the Dunham pack, yeah.
44 packs that we are going to be giving out, right?
Dunham packs, yeah.
Yeah, these are some Dunham packs, and this is some motherfucking Jerry. You get the Jerry Berry, my nigga. Only white runts we smoking. You get the fucking Jerry Berry, and you get the Dunham runts. Okay,
Yeah, that part.
we smoking these bitches like Chief Keef and Lil Durk in them. That's what we doing over here. You know what I'm saying? So what we doing, and for all of the regulators, this is Delta 44. We have our own strain, okay? Red and blue, purple like Prince. We got our own strain. All y'all gotta do is basically pay for your shipping and handling and send a donation. You know what I'm talking about? You see the 8 grams and you see the 4. You know what I mean? So, sock it to my pocket. I'm gonna leave the Cash App right here. You know what to do, and you'll have it delivered straight from our suppliers and whatnot. And you good. You know what I'm talking about? And because we in a given mood, I want y'all to smoke with us, because this is an occasion to put one in the motherfucking air. You know
Yes,
what I'm
it
talking
is.
about?
Yes,
This is that right here. You know what I mean? We're not gonna allow days to pass and we don't basically ritualize what the ancestors are putting into motion. So the fact that Harry Belafonte went into the ancestor realm and they probably said, yo, you a legend. You get to bring one with you. And he threw the motherfucking rope around Carol Baskin's neck. No, not Baskin. She got another. Carol Baskin from Tiger King. Chill, Carol, I ain't coming at you. You know what I'm talking about? Just send them tigers after me. I'm talking about Carol Bryant. You know what I mean? The one who
right.
y'all should have been spun the block on Uber Eats on
Yeah.
her ass. How you niggas? They got Uber Eats and you still can't do a hit. These niggas is lazy. But anyway, we smoking on Carol Packs and we smoking on that good Jerry Berry. Talk black to us. Send something to Phil Moreland, Cash App. You'll get a delivery. And yeah, that part. You already know it. I don't want to talk too much about that because he who can hear and see and you know what I'm talking about. Blue, anything that you want to leave them with?
Build and Destroy podcast. We have an amazing episode that just went up tonight with your brother 19 Keys. Keys of Life. You can go right here on YouTube. Build and Destroy podcast. Put that in the search engine. It'll bring you there. We had an amazing episode last week with Pimp and Ken. Trust me, don't judge a book by its cover. I can only tell you, Build and Destroy. You already know what it is. It ain't gonna be no low-level conversations taking place with us. So check that episode out. It's well worth it. We got a few gems, a few episodes up there you can binge on. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely some constructive conversations taking place in the Build and Destroy podcast. Shout out Tyreek, shout out Malik, and shout out, the good brother Red. All right. And a high level conversation tour coming to a town near you. I don't have any of the flyers in front of me. Goldwater will be coming to your city. All right. So if you want to pull up on us in person and get you a bottle, you need to watch and see what those dates are. Definitely grab a ticket to the venue. But
it's gonna be a movie.
If you just want to grab a bottle or what have you, then you could pull up to the venue. I'm sure we could work that out, but it's definitely going to be a movie. You wouldn't want to miss it. I damn sure don't want to miss it. Be in the building. There are some amazing markets that we're coming through to that I haven't really seen too many people play Cleveland. I ain't seen too many people play St. Louis. You know what I'm saying?
Detroit.
I ain't seen that too much. You know what I mean? So we're going to be in the Midwest,
Chicago,
South,
Philadelphia,
Boston, and New York. It jumps off May 4th at the Apollo. You dig? So, and that's a week from today. All right. So if you know. All right.
So this is the link for the Build and Destroy podcast.
Yeah.
Click on it. Go and check that out. That's a fire episode. We just launched. Yeah.
Definitely want to check that, y'all.
Yeah, go check that, y'all. Go check that. Shout out to all of my Patreons. We have a Patreon show tomorrow with my good brother, the legend. All right, my good brother in Cairo. Shout out to Cairo. Yes, indeed. Let me pull that flyer up real quick before we get out of here. That will be on Patreon.
Yeah, shout out to the legend.
Huh?
Shout out to the legend.
Yeah. Precious Metals weekly class with brother in Cairo. Okay. Shout out to my good brother. And I'm talking about 4:44 p.m. every day. Every Friday, 4:44 p.m. Eastern. Rainbow Opal or higher on my Patreon. You have access to the Precious Metals weekly class with brother in Cairo. Utah just declared silver and gold as legal tender. Utah just declared silver and gold as legal tender. Okay.
Yes.
This shit is moving fast. So I shade to my good brother in Cairo for being right on time. You know what I mean? He couldn't be no better with his timing and whatnot. Those classes are on Patreon. Please
Yes.
be in the building. Mañana 444. That's the
That's that rainbow opal,
444
y'all.
Patreons and up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get
We Buy
that
Red
rainbow
Gold,
opal.
the new album. And I'm talking
Excuse
about
me?
Don't Judge Me. So we out, Blue. I'm gonna leave them with red opals.
Red opals.
That part. All right. Love and light to the family. We'll see you on Monday. Peace.
Hey.
Well, my shit not playing, bro.
I'm like, shit playing and I can't hear it. What's going on?
It's so John Blaze that it was like, hold on, give me a better intro. So, off of the upcoming project called We Buy Red Gold, I present to you Red Opals.
Up in the Dumbo, smoking a gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, coconut bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour the underworld, popping the minter. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm soaking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Morris the fashion. Horse was smashing, kicking the door. Waving for force, it was blasting. Mother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the Benjis, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red as the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning flooded a bright lane. The hunger was biting, biting. Smoking a gum. Up in the Dumbo, smoking a gumbo. Few blocks before green, yeah, up in the jungle, coconut bundles. It's history in the making. I'm popping like fish to the grease and the bacon. My bitch is Jamaican. United we stand, dividing these bands. They hide in their hands. I'm riding in vans, slide through your land. Hopping the sprinters, tour the underworld, popping the minter. Land of the turtles, I'm popping that splinter. Watching the snowfall, dropping the winter. Dodging the pitfalls, watching this bitch fall. And I still managed like Rich Paul. The paper was calling, I had to go switch calls. I spoke to my twin, I told my young boys I'd never be broken again. Invoking the gins, spitting the spirits, I'm stoking the gin. Your man's in the woods, we smoking on him. Fuck do you mean? We up it and squeeze, tuck it and leave, we leaving a stain. Fuck up for breeze, running the banks, causing a crashing. Feather the feds, Morris the fashion. Horse was smashing, kicking the door. Waving for force, it was blasting. Mother the gassing, loving the passion. Eat on your food, the brother was fasting. The weapon that formed against me was me. Perfected the storm as Bentley receipts. Washing the Benjis, we rinse and repeat. Century of self, I'm centered on me. Red as the pillar, I'm pushing the piece. Higher the level, I'm pushing the keys. They going for 19. The summer is mine, I'm going for 19. Thunder and lightning flooded a bright lane. The hunger was biting, biting.